Stop with Don and James. I'm James.
And I'm Don.
Don, it is bright and early in the morning. We watched Australia last night because of that crazy time difference. But what a race, man. I see you are rocking your Mercedes hat. And for good reason, man. They had a 1-2 finish, Russell and Antonelli. Not a bad weekend for Mercedes.
Yeah, a heck of a weekend for them. Actually, they not only pulled the 1-2, but it was pretty dominant throughout. Right, it was kind of clear that they were the ones with the fastest car out there, and yeah, they're back in a big way, it seems. And yeah, I had to put the hat on. I got this hat for my wife at the track last year, and uh, I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and throw the bandwagon hat on because of how dominant they were. Um, so yeah, I would say it was the Mercedes show, but we had a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, the new cars. There's plenty to chat about. It is real early in the morning, so we might be a little bit bleary eyed
Yeah.
and stupid, but. But yeah, we had to do an early morning, and it's daylight savings time, and so it's even earlier because we lost an hour. At least we did. I guess you guys stay on the same time there in Arizona, but that still means it's super early for you.
Yeah. 5:30. I had to go splash some water on my face, wake myself up a little bit, but I made
Yeah.
it. I'm here. I'm looking good.
Yeah, you are looking good, my man.
Thanks, man.
Well, I mean, how do we want to start this thing, James? I mean, there was some interesting stuff that happened before the race ever began. Um,
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess,
good place to start.
yeah. So, I mean, we had, I would say maybe one of the most eventful things happened in FP3. Kimi Antonelli just, uh, he just lost it and hit a wall, busted up his car just a couple hours before qualifying began. Um, and so it was kind of a question whether Kimi Antonelli was going to even get out there and be able to put a qualifying time in, and probably actually would not have. They were still working on his car well into Q1, and it just so happened that Max Verstappen, of all people, had a really weird lockup where he was coming down. Was it like turn one or two? And I think it was turn one, and he went to hit his brakes. The rear axle locked up, and he just had it. I mean, it was a really weird snap. He wasn't even into his turn yet, and the locking axle just sent him spinning and hit the wall and was out of Q1. So the Red Bull, beast Max Verstappen was out of there right off the bat in Q1. Didn't even get to qualify, and that gave a red flag and a little more time. They got Kimi's car patched up, and he was able to get out there and not only get a lap time, but stink and take a P2 out of it in the end. So yeah, it was crazy, man. No Max Verstappen in quali. That was unexpected. And then just have Antonelli go from a busted car to all the way up to P2 in qualifying was pretty insane.
Yeah, and 3 drivers in total didn't get to set a lap time, right? Lance Stroll didn't set a lap time. Verstappen, obviously, because he crashed in. Carlos Sainz parking up his car, setting no time. So 3 drivers starting right at the back of the grid without even having to try. So it was a bummer for those guys. Obviously, with all their new regulations, nobody was immune to the issues. Even in FP1, we had McLaren with I would guess some sort of gearbox issues, right? Like they were both complaining, like, oh, like the shifts aren't right or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We had Pinto going off. Um, Arvin had a stall. I think even Max Verstappen had a stall at one point. So uh, it was interesting. And then you get to the race, and everybody had that big question on their mind of, well, what is the start going to look like? And looked like any other start, quite honestly. um, but Leclerc obviously made a really good run off the line, got down, immediately took the lead, and we had a really good race for the first, I don't know, 15, 20 laps or so between George, Leclerc, and Hamilton. And then that yellow came out, and then Ferrari continues to be Ferrari. No pits under the VSC when everybody else does. No splitting it and doing one and one. And then a second VSC comes out and they botch it again. They continue to
Yeah.
not pit under the VSC. And then I, I don't know if you heard the radio message going on with Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton was complaining. He's like, dude, what are you guys doing? How are you guys not splitting up the strategy? How are you not taking advantage? And then he gets told how far back. I think it was either Russell or Kimi Antonelli was. And he's like, oh, the strategist is like, oh, they're already 10 seconds behind you. Hamilton's like, how are they already 10 seconds?
Yeah.
The
Right.
cars were just that fast
Yeah.
going going into this weekend. And that is something Ferrari did not take into account. The frustration. I wanted to throw something through the TV and hit those Ferrari strategists right in the head, man. How have they not learned? How have they not learned?
Yeah, I'm not sure, and that was kind of crazy. And so here was my take. You know, uh, they absolutely botched the first safety car, the first safety car or virtual safety car, really. Yeah, it was a no brainer. Again, should have been out there and at least split them and done one pit for a cheap, and then of course for the second. But I, I don't know what's going on, but it was the timing. So it was a successful day for Ferrari, and like it seems to me that Ferrari's found something where so they came in P3, P4, I guess we should say. Charles was on the podium, and then Hamilton on in P4 just outside the podium places, and so it was clear that they had speed and that they are one of the top teams, and that's good news for them. But they what I would say is like the time split. They in the end they weren't that far behind Mercedes, and they were the only ones that were kind of close. And it's like if you would have taken one of those, it probably would one of the opportunities to pit your cars, you'd probably be in the mix. But yeah, it was, and so I mean I don't know how they can't go back and look at what happened out there and be more ready for this kind of thing in the in the future. So I'm hoping that this means that they will because they found some speed. Maybe they'll learn a couple harsh lessons on the strategy side and get back there. Especially, I hope they'll listen to Lewis, because obviously Lewis knew they should have came in.
Right.
So I've been talking about this with my wife recently. Uh, it's one of those scenarios. It reminded me of last year. There was a race for McLaren where they didn't come in and pit under a safety car, and it was late in the season. I think it was one of the last few races, and they didn't come in, and then I think it was maybe even the second to last race, and they didn't take the cheap pit stop and ended up, uh, you know, letting Red Bull gain more ground on them for the drivers' championship. Well, I feel like these drivers sometimes, when they know the obvious call is to come in under a safety car, they need to. They need to call it in and just say, "Hey, I'm coming in." Like, not ask what you're doing, just like, "I'm coming in." Or
Yeah.
if the lead driver comes in, I'm coming in. Like do something and just and force their hand. Say, "Get ready in the pits because I'm going to come in." Uh, Maybe it's just not like that in Formula One anymore. I think there's been guys in the past who have like made that kind of a driver call from the track instead of letting the pit guys decide. So
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think Lewis Hamilton, he is part of kind of that old school where he just needs to make the judgment call and be like, look, this is something we have to take advantage of.
yeah,
Uh, Ferrari is just they have that reputation of we are Ferrari and you do as we say. And
Yeah.
there's no arguing it, right? That's always been their mantra, and it's really an issue is
Yeah.
is how it comes down. I want to look at just a few things here, though. So obviously, Mercedes finished 1-2, Ferrari 3-4. Not a bad weekend for Ferrari. Uh, both those teams are in my fantasy, so I'm feeling really good this morning. I haven't looked yet, but I'm feeling really good. Um, Nico Hulkenberg did not start the race. Super disappointing for Audi. Oscar Piastri did not start the race. Super disappointing again. We had followed that up with on their official timing. We had Isaac Hadjar who had a DNF. The car just gave out totally weird, um, no drive whatsoever. Valtteri Bottas, it looked like the car just kind of stalled up and he just kind of skidded as he was getting ready to go into the pit lane. Couldn't restart it. That was heartbreaking for Valtteri. And then Aston Martin, man, they have their issues are not unknown to everybody at this point, right? Fernando Alonso comes in, parks up, goes back out, tries to get some more data, ultimately officially DNF'd. Lance Stroll, I'm going to count it as a DNF. He finished 15 laps behind. Aston Martin, man, they have to be the biggest heartbreak of the season, right? Everybody had been hyping him up. Lawrence Stroll has been dumping a ton of money. They got Adrian Newey. He's not cheap, and I would say he has designed a what I would say is a good car, doing Adrian Newey things, right? But it's that Honda power unit. They they just haven't delivered, and it's been hard. I've seen people speculate, because they pulled out of F1 a number of years ago, early 2020s. They started downsizing their whole department, and then they're like, "Oh, well, we'll come back for Aston Martin," but their department had already been downsized at that point. They weren't doing anything. And now Aston Martin, I don't know how they have neglected to send people over and like have a look at what they're doing or have earlier testing of what's been going on. And I don't know. I think Aston Martin may have just dropped the ball on this one and not realized how far behind. And it's an absolute disaster for him. I'm truly heartbroken for Aston Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to watch, especially when we know Adrian Newey's uh, his pedigree and how legendary he is. And he's not just the designer; he's the team principal now. So a lot of these decisions do come down on him. Um, I so the issue seems to be that the power unit's causing some insane vibrations in their car. So I don't know how you get that. Like, how do you how do you even like um, deal with that? Because changing out a power unit, you only have so many times you can change out a power unit in a season. I don't know what the new regs say about that, but that seems like it could become an issue. I mean, they can change them out and then take penalties, I guess, which wouldn't be it wouldn't hurt now. Like if they can get a new power unit in there, uh, even if they do have to take a penalty, they're already at the back of the grid, so might as well do whatever you got to do. But yeah, I don't know, man. I hope they figure that one out because I mean, there was a very brief time I think Alonso was running like P10, um, it, during the race. So maybe they do have something and they just need to figure that issue out. So I think we'll see. I think we'll see them take big leaps. Uh, I've heard as well that the word on the street is that the car development, the release of their car was, for whatever reason, I didn't hear the reasons why, but it was 4 months delayed, and so they kind of fell behind. So something went on there that caused them to be delayed, and nobody told, like, none of the talking heads that I heard talking about this said that it was because the power unit was delayed or because the chassis was delayed. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, they just got behind by 4 months, and 4 months is a long time in this sport, especially when you consider the off season's only 3 months long. So they were kind of behind the ball there. But one of the things I think we will see over the course of this season are pretty big leaps in in the design and the performance of the cars. We've obviously got reliability issues. Lots of cars just dying out there during qualifying and practice sessions and things like that. So there's there's going to be some reliability things, kinks that have to get hammered out um, over the next. I don't know. I'm guessing it'll probably be the next month or 2 months of racing, but so it's not just Aston Martin, I guess, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of other
Right.
things that people are needing to find out. And I really hope that Cadillac gets it going. Uh, they weren't really competitive, I would say, in this race. They never really were threatening to grab a good position. But it was cool to see him out there and to see Bottas and Perez back out there on the circuit. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it, I would have hoped Cadillac would have had a better showing. Bottas obviously didn't finish the race. Perez finished 3 laps down, the only driver to finish 3 laps down.
Yep.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Uh, Carlos Sainz finished 2 laps down. Franco Colapinto finished 2 laps down, and then everybody from 7th to 13th was a lap down. I think last year there was only one race where someone in the top 10 finished a lap down. The rest of the time, I think everybody was on the lead lap for the most part. Uh, the power difference between the top cars and the not top cars is significant this year. That's a huge gap that I don't know people are going to be able to bridge. I mean, you look at Max Verstappen. Granted, he started at the back of the grid, but he finished almost a full minute behind everybody.
Yeah.
And then
And
even Lando Norris, he finished 50 seconds behind, and he
yeah.
started up there with him. Like, it is unbelievable just how fast those Mercedes are. I don't know if that is a bridge that is going to be gapped. They're
Yeah.
just going to have to hope and pray that there's some sort of electrical issue or some sort of crash that puts them out this year. It's gonna. It looks like Mercedes have already wrapped it up.
I mean, yeah, it's super early in the season, but you're right. They were that dominant. It's kind of interesting, like the two big dogs, right? Mercedes and Ferrari seem to have something that the rest don't, and I don't know if that is something that comes with the development power of these big juggernaut companies. They've got a lot at their disposal to develop this kind of stuff. They've got facilities and personnel to maybe do a little bit more when there's a huge rule change like this. So it'll be very interesting, man. Uh, it'll be cool to see George Russell if he ends up kind of gravitating to the number one driver, and if he wins it, that'd be pretty cool. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be heartbroken for that. I kind of dig George and think he's a good driver. Um, yeah, we kind of glossed over too that Oscar that Oscar Piastri crashed out. It was even before the reconnaissance or the formation lap and the kind of the recon warm up laps that they do. Uh, he just caught a curb and went down on the power before all four wheels were back on the ground and hit the wall, and that was just a straight up bummer. It was his home race. I was
Yeah,
really hoping that we would see something better out of Oscar. I mean, it was unfortunate. It's hard to even call it like a driver error because it's like it was just a snap of the fingers and he was gone. But you know, McLaren was clearly slower than the top teams. So Zach Brown's not going to be happy about that. He's going to want to see some rapid improvement. So we'll see what happens with them. And then Red Bull was Red Bull, I don't think we saw the full potential, whether they're in there hanging with the Mercedes and Ferraris. What we saw was that Hadjar put it on P3 in qualifying, and it was, I mean, that was fantastic. But then he had a reliability issue and got out of the race. And Max, of course, crashed during qualifying and had a heroic drive from the back of the grid to P6, like you said. So we did see some speed out of Max, right? So I, there's a good chance that we'll see that they have a really fast car too, but we just didn't get a full picture of it in this race because of the weird circumstances. So,
Yeah, Hadjar had a really good showing since you brought him up. Uh, it was just unfortunate with the power, but I gotta shout out Arvin Lindblad, man, the only rookie driver. He was giving Max Verstappen the business during the race,
yeah,
uh, which I love to see. You know, I don't want drivers to be intimidated when they have Max behind them, or somebody else that's obviously very big in the sport, like Lewis Hamilton. People that have had great success. Arvin Lindblad was just like, "Come get it." it
yeah,
was
he,
it was awesome to see. He put up a really good, clean fight. Not bad for being the only rookie driver going against one of the best drivers in the series, but he kept him at bay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he eventually got past, but yeah, he fought him, and I think he even um, took the place back once or twice during the battle that where they were right next to each other. He did great. Lindblad was impressive. Beat his his teammate. The
Hmm.
Racing Bulls seemed to have a decent car, but Lawson just still could not find it. It's I don't know, man. He better watch out. I mean, there's no helmet Marco around anymore to to possibly recommend getting rid of him. So maybe he's safe in that regard. But yeah, it was just a bummer for Lawson. He got shown up by a younger, more inexperienced teammate, and that won't be good for him. I will say this too. I don't know if you noted this, but from P5 to P10, uh, so the back half of this point scoring, um, all different teams, all different teams. So that is a good sign, I think, that we'll see something interesting this year. That there's a good mix up. So even though the two teams were dominant from 5 to 10, it was all different teams. I thought that was an interesting stat.
That's gonna make it really interesting come the end of the year if it stays that way for, the teams that are finishing third, fourth, fifth. That's actually really, really cool, man. I did not notice that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, I think we're going to see even more shuffling in those spots too. And to that point, it was a disappointing day for Williams, but I because they didn't score points. But I don't know, man. I think they're gonna score points. I thought like given all of the circumstances that they faced, the car being overweight, not participating in the shakedown in Barcelona, I- they weren't that far off. What did you think about Williams?
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be kind of a rough showing. That being said, they did do better than I had expected them to, quite honestly. I really expected them to be way further down in the pecking order. But yeah, a lot to be learned. Obviously, this is the very first race. Everybody's going to have more and more data as the season goes on. And it was unlucky, right? I mean, Carlos didn't even really get a chance to qualify. So who knows what could have been. Albon had decent. He was just outside of the top 10. That's not unlike where they were at the end of last year. So, anything can happen in Formula 1 and it usually does. So, on to China, man. China is going to be I honestly don't know how China is going to go because looking at how everybody was running here in Australia, there's only one that really long. I don't want to say straight away because it's very curvy, but that backside running down along the lake right there. They're flat out. By they get to the end of just that, the battery starts recharging and they start slowing down. But China, they have that huge back straightaway. Are they going to run out of power halfway through, and the power's going to come on like right as they get towards that last hairpin? I don't know how it's going to go in China. I'm a little nervous. I was nervous for this race. I'm even more nervous for China. I can't even imagine what Spa is going to be like.
Yeah,
It's going
right.
to be a weird race with these regulations.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a couple of interesting things. The way that these cars work, they have to depend on that battery, right? So there's all this new stuff that they're doing, the way that they're taking different sections of the racetracks. They have to slow down, and they basically use kind of like engine braking to like recoup uh, energy. You know, like the MGUK, the kinetic energy uh, harvester, and that's another word we're hearing the word harvester like or harvesting constantly in the commentary now, which is new. So you just we didn't hear that all the time, even though there was some recapture of battery power in previous seasons. It's so much more. It's a 50-50 split. The engine is now 50 electric, 50 internal combustion. That's where they get their power from. So it's everybody's trying to use that electric power, and the power kind of ebbs and flows over the course of the race. So what we're seeing is, uh, first of all, it made for spectacular battles between the front runners. The lead of the race changed several times, probably 3 to 4 times. I want to say between George Russell and
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc um, in the first few laps of the race. That was awesome. We haven't seen it like that for a long time. We might see somebody jump uh, ahead in the race start, and it's usually for the last little while been Max overtaking Lando Norris for P1, but then it just kind of oftentimes will stay that way, and we saw it go back and forth. That is a good thing for this sport. People want to see more battles, and I felt like there were a lot more battles. And the other thing that I've noticed about it was that depending on the state of who has uh, battery overtake power, uh, bigger gaps were coming down really quickly. So you'd see somebody that was up, they were up 2-3 seconds on someone else, and then all of a sudden there was a battle for that position, and it was because somebody was able to deploy the electric, which gives them quite a bit of a boost. Also, the active arrow seemed to play a part. It was kind of interesting to see that, the front and rear wings opening up to on the straight line mode so that they get more speed. So, yeah, I still haven't really pieced it all together mentally, like how to like look for these type of things happening. But
Right.
I think that'll just take time over the course of the season. But I thought there was definitely like some excitement added, and especially once they get the reliability issues worked out, it should play a more of an interesting role down the later into the season. So, but yeah, I'm definitely excited for China.
Yeah, can I just
Yeah.
say I am a fan of the active arrow. I think it is the next evolution of what the DRS was, make the front wings movable.
Hmm.
I'm a fan. But that issue of them having to recharge the battery once they reach the end of the straight and they lose power, they have termed it super clipping. I'm not exactly sure that is the best way to describe it. There's nothing really super about that. Uh, it gives me mixed feelings. Overall, I would say it makes me feel disappointed. I don't want to see guys losing speed when their foot is on the floor at the end of a straightaway. That's not what I've come to know and love in Formula 1 or any racing. Any racing. You don't see that anywhere. This is the exception in the motoring world, and frankly, it is disappointing. That is an issue that if they're not sorting it out this year, it has to be sorted by next year, whether that's regulations or within the teams. They have to find something, a way to get rid of that. It's not good for the sport at all.
Yeah. It is kind of anti-racing, right? To be like, well, I can't go faster. Uh, to but and frankly, it's what caused Max to crash, right? They the
Everybody's
you
having issues with the battery. That is what's causing the issues.
and it there's a mechanism that's attached to the rear axle that is supposed to be taking that energy and basically converting it into battery power. And so it locked up his rear axle when he was braking, right? So that won't be good if it starts causing cars to to lock up where they shouldn't be locking up. So yeah, I hear you, man. We want to see those cars going as fast as they can. I saw a video. It was circulating on social media, so you never know. But it was they were demonstrating, and I think it was like Carlos Sainz's Williams, that he was going like it wasn't some small amount slower on the straight than you normally would. He was losing like it was like 15 miles an hour or something. Or
Yeah.
it was a significant amount of speed that he just wasn't getting because of the way that they have to recoup that energy. So yeah, they got to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. They definitely won't figure it out by the next race.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah.
But maybe just kind of before we move on to what's coming up in China, I think I want to look at the times really quick. So for qualifying for Australia for this year, we had obviously George Russell. He had the fastest time of a 1:18.5. Okay. And then when we look back at 2025 and we go to Australia qualifying, the fastest time was a 1:15.0. So
So they're
3 seconds
3 seconds.
slower,
Wow.
3.5 seconds really is what it is slower just on qualifying.
I
And
mean,
is
that's
that purely the super clipping, or is that everything else taken into consideration? So I slower cars, man, it's not what you want to see in racing. You want cars to be about the same or quicker,
yeah.
right?
I
So
mean, yeah, that is a great observation, and I think that I think I think they'll get that time down over the years. It might just take a little while. But one of the reasons why it's extra disappointing is that they shrunk the cars down. I mean, the cars are significantly shorter and narrower. They're
maybe
supposed
they'll
to be
have a
more.
faster time at Monaco.
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's the only place this car is really going to be helpful. Everywhere
Yeah.
else, not so much.
Well, we can hope that they do something that we see some reason to be excited about watching Monaco again. But
Yeah, so
yeah.
I guess we can just look forward then to China, but maybe before we do, we got to go over our bold predictions. So last week I said both Astons would retire, which you gracefully have given me a win on since Lance Stroll was 15 laps behind. So we're going to count that as a yes for me. And I said both Williams were going to be on points, which obviously I got incorrect, but you are up. He said there was going to be a Ferrari on the podium, which Charles Leclerc managed to eke out, and Alpine will score points. Pierre Gasly came P10 to score the last and final point. So you are up 2-1. Not bad. But now we go to China, and I have retooled my brain a little bit on what I think is going to happen. I am putting both Ferraris on the podium. I think there's going to be, looking at just last year, Ferrari had a really good showing at China. Obviously, the regulation changes, I can't fully predict it, but I'm going to put him back up there. And then I'm going to put both Haas in the points. I think Haas might be the midfield team to watch this year. It's going to be a close one between them, Audi, and the Racing Bulls. And, but I think Haas is going to eke it out. What about your bold predictions, Don?
Well, I like your prediction for Haas and Behrman was P7 last night, and that was a good result for him. And then Ocon was just outside the points, so you got a good shot of getting that one right. And I would love to see it, but I'm going to pick one of the rivals you just mentioned, Audi. I'm going to put both of them in the points. Bortoletto had a great race, came in P9. They looked solid. Hulkenberg though just didn't get to even start the race, so I think we're going to see the Audi team continue to progress. I was encouraged that Bortoletto was able to pull that out and get a point or get a couple points for Audi. So I'll put both Audis in the points. That's my first bold prediction. And then oh my gosh, what did I even say for the for my Lewis Hamilton's going to outperform Charles Leclerc. So that's what I'm guessing. Like you said, Ferrari did well at this track last year. This is the pretty much the only real success that that Lewis had was winning the sprint race in China last year. Let's see. He was it was actually super encouraging to see that Lewis was as competitive as he was yesterday and throughout the weekend in Melbourne. So um, I think he's got a new level of confidence. He actually at near the end of the
Yes.
race he was kind of challenging Leclerc for P3. It wasn't a very serious challenge. He never really threatened to make a move on him, but he's going to want this. Um, I think he wants to get back up on the podium. So I'm hoping that he can just nick it from Charles. So I don't know where they're going to finish. I'm not putting a place on it, but I'm just going to say he's going to outperform Charles.
Sounds good, man. And of course, next weekend is a sprint weekend, so a few extra points are up for grabs. It's just gonna help the leaders run further and further away. Quite honestly, it's not helping anybody in the midfield.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well,
is what it is.
I will be watching closely on. Everybody's going to be watching Mercedes for the first few races to see if they just continue to blow everybody away, of course. And then I'm really going to be watching Red Bull because I was impressed. This is crazy to say, right? We Hadjar. I mean, he had the chance to beat Max yesterday because he qualified very well, and Max didn't qualify at all. And so, uh, are we going to see that second seat do well with Isaac Hadjar in there? That's what I'm really curious about that. So, and then I don't know, man. I got to see something better out of my boys. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
yeah. Disappointing for our favorite teams all around.
That's true.
But that's all right. But I want to thank you for joining me this bright and early morning, and looking forward to China, man. It's still early in the season. Everything is still to play for. I'm gonna go retool my fantasy. I did not perform well, so
I think you did.
hopefully, oh,
I think you did. I think you. I checked it late yesterday. I don't know if they had posted the scores for the finalized scores or whatever, but you were ahead of everybody, so you
that
couldn't have done
doesn't
too
sound
bad.
right at all.
No, I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure it was.
think
It's either you or
there's
your
no
dad.
there's no way that's still accurate.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna say adios.
Adios.